Chapter 21. Could this be because this purple slime was some kind of mini-boss? Nero imagined. She put the ring on her left middle finger and saw that in her status the ring added the 3 energy points: Nero Diaz, breed, hybrid, class, uneven, subclass, enchantress, rank F, level 1, 15%, 3/20 monster core rank F level 2, attributes, energy, mana 52.612, strength, hybrid 42.74, okay, I need to go back now. Another time I'll absorb the monster cores, Nero thought to herself as she closed the system pages. She-wolf. We will call you Luna. Come, follow me, Nero said, her new mascot. Luna understood what Nero said and started to follow her. Another thing that Nero noticed was that although the level of the wolf did not decrease, it was completely healed. However, it lost some of the strength that it had initially. If Luna had been close to reaching level 6 before, she had now returned to her level's initial state. Now a wolf and a winged girl were walking through the forest, heading in the direction that had a faint light of fire. It was precisely the fire that Jana had built. Nero, you're back. Jana was petrified shortly after realizing a silver-black wolf was following Nero. Nero, be careful, she cried out in alarm. Jana did not realize that the wolf was following Nero willingly, since Nero appeared from behind the trees and only now had Jana noticed the wolf. It's okay, Nero said to her, I tamed it. Nero summed it up in a few words, but Jana understood. How did you manage to do that? And more importantly, is it okay if I pet it? Yes, her name is Luna, Nero said. Oh, is it a female? Jana thought that name was quite feminine, so she deduced it must be a girl. Yes, Nero nodded in response. What a cute thing, my god. One could already see that Jana adored the wolf. She not only caressed her, but also hugged the wolf that growled softly in reluctance but did not dare to do anything that might hurt Jana. Of course, that alone made Jana like the wolf even more, hugging it more and more as she stroked the wolf's soft hair. Nero, you are very lucky. This wolf is very tame, and on top of that it is at level 5. Jana could hardly believe it. She spoke so loudly at the end that Choco, who was sleeping, ended up waking. Choco came out of the tent, with her hair tousled, and asked in a hurry, what happened? Is it an enemy attack? Do you see what you did? Nero laughed, while Jana blushed slightly, but... Look, Choco, isn't this wolf beautiful? Jana tried to disguise her embarrassment. Choco turned her attention to the wolf being hugged by Jana, and she also became delighted. Her heart was automatically stolen by this silvery black wolf. She didn't even care that she was at that moment all disheveled and joined Jana to hug and pet the wolf. Master. Nero swore she heard the wolf beg for help. Luna the wolf looked at her with pitiful eyes. Clearly uncomfortable with this situation. Hold on just a little longer until they get tired, Nero told Luna, but that's not what happened. The two girls stayed for many minutes, almost hours, fawning over the poor wolf. Only after they were completely satisfied, Choco remembered that she had left her hair disheveled and went back into the tent, embarrassed, so she could get ready. Jana was still reluctant to walk away from the wolf, but Luna hid behind Nero, using her as a shield. TSK. You won't escape me for long. Jana murmured and also entered the tent. Breno, who was observing from the men's tent, was sweating buckets. He couldn't find the right time to leave. Only when Choco and Jana entered the other tent did he decide to come out. Good morning to you too. Breno, was it? Nero asked. Yes, that's right. Breno smiled awkwardly. How's Jair doing? Nero asked. He'll be fine. He just had a bit of a fever this morning, but I gave him medicine and it's gone. Now, he just needs to wake up, Breno said, looking very relieved. That's nice, Nero smiled. Breno nodded and a silence came over the place. This wolf, I am very surprised that you have managed to domesticate it, Breno said suddenly. He knew a little about wolves and knew it was not an easy task to tame a wild wolf. In addition, this one was a level 5 monster wolf. I basically saved this wolf's life, so Luna willingly started to follow me. Nero lied a little. I see. Anyway, congratulations. This wolf will be of great help to you in battle. And she doesn't seem to be in adulthood, so she still has a lot of opportunity to grow, Breno said with a small smile. Beautiful wolf. Jana returned. She didn't even notice Breno. She went straight to Luna, who was running desperately from her. Ha! Nero didn't know why, but she started to laugh watching this scene. Even Brenno was laughing secretly. Choco returned, and after saying good morning to Brenno, she joined Jana in chasing Luna, running through the grass of the forest. Okay then, don't tease the wolf too much. We still need to walk a ways until we reach Esven town. Brenno decided to intervene, however he regretted it bitterly soon after receiving a death glare from Jana and Choco. But his words were effective, as the two stopped chasing Luna. Okay. The two girls were dripping with sweat. The wolf was very fast and slippery to catch, which made the two girls run after the wolf without success. Oh. Luna howled softly in protest to her owner, who did nothing to stop her being chased by these two girls. Nero obviously pretended not to see anything and started to whistle. Brenno pulled Jair out of their tent and carried him on his back while Jana, Nero, and Choco disassembled the tents. Having done all this, the group of 4 people, a hybrid, and a wolf began to make their way through the forest. On the way, they encountered many slimes which were easily defeated. Nero killed a slime and went to use plunder on it, using a fake hunter card to disguise what she was doing. My wolf, I missed you so much. A 155 centimeters tall man in bandit clothes appeared from behind the trees and jumped in front of Nero's group. He pointed at the wolf while screaming longingly, as if he had found his lost pet. Oh, Luna made a fierce expression as she growled and howled. The wolf did not seem at all happy with the arrival of the little bandit and even seemed to be angry with him. Get lost, Nero warned. She didn't want to waste her time on this small thug. Girl, it is not right to take what belongs to others. This wolf is mine. It is better to return it, or prepare to suffer the consequences. The little thief, who wore a dark green cloth all over his head, just leaving his eyes, mouth, and nose sticking out, strictly warned Nero, pulling a dagger from behind his back. You know, I, Orisama, am in a great mood, but if you continue to be irrational, well, it's your choice. Nero took a bow out of her inventory. Of course, she pretended to take it out of the hunter card. A dark arrow appeared when she pulled the string. She herself was surprised by this. She just wanted to scare the little bandit. However, the dark arrow escaped from her fingers. Okay, she let it out on purpose, but it was aimed 2 meters away from the little thug. But who would have guessed that the smart little thug would dodge in the direction of the arrow? Chapter 22. What Nero nor Choco and the rest expected was that the arrow started to lose its dark color and became pink, becoming as thin as a knitting needle. The arrow hit the chest of the little bandit, but to everyone's surprise, it was as if the arrow were made of wind because it hit the chest of the little bandit and disappeared. The little thug, who thought he was going to die, fell back, but soon realized he wasn't hurt and started laughing out loud. But a moment later his eyes snapped to a nearby tree. It was like some scene from a movie. The world went in slow motion for the bandit. He looked at the tree and his eyes were heart-shaped. He had fallen madly in love with the cherry tree. How beautiful, so beautiful. Oh, I fell in love with you at first sight, my most beautiful cherry tree. The little bandit hugged the tree and started making obscene gestures. He had gone completely crazy. Jana and Choco could no longer stand to see this bizarre scene. Even the wolf, Luna, put her paws in front of her eyes, not wanting to see this scene. I don't know what happened to him, but let's go, Nero said as she turned the bow towards them. Stop. Don't point that thing at me, Brenno cried out in fright. It was only after the arrow hit that bandit that he got weird like that. Okay. Nero was a little confused. She didn't think she had the power to manipulate people's hearts, but decided not to take any chances. She then pretended to keep the bow in her hunter card inventory. My God, I will never forget the scene of the little bandit falling in love with that tree. Jana laughed as they walked away towards Esfim. So, was that any special skill of yours, Nero? Choco was extremely curious about this. In fact, I don't even know how I did it. Just happened, Nero said. She also wanted to understand how she was able to do such a thing. New mission, Hunter card, become a member of the Hunters Guild. Objective, register with the Hunters Guild. Reward, short arc, 2 agility, and 10 strength. Reward, 40 essence coin. Nero frowned, but then pretended that nothing happened. She showed a poker face and did not demonstrate that a holographic screen had appeared in front of her. She didn't want them to start thinking that she was crazy. Another slime group, Choco warned, but it was a bit pointless since everyone noticed and prepared to attack. Luna attacked the green slime on the right. Nero decided to see how strong the wolf could be. There were a total of 7 slimes, 4 pink slimes and 3 green slimes. As she did not know what would happen if she used the bow again, Nero instead used stones to attack. Fireball. Jana screamed, and a fireball the size of a volleyball went towards a pink slime. Breno was carrying Jair. Because of that, he didn't fight. Already Choco ran and appeared in front of a green slime. Nero also acted quickly by throwing a rock towards a green slime. Queen's throw. Bang! The stone, enwrapped with a blue aura, was thrown at a very fast speed, hitting Green Slime's big head. You defeated the monster plant, Green Slime, rank F, level 4, it was fast. Nero didn't attack again, she paid attention to Luna who attacked with her paw on the Green Slime's round head. Nero noticed that in the lower right corner, she had an option to activate the ability, Fierce Hit, and that it was a special attack by the wolf Luna, but she decided to stand aside and watch, unfazed when she noticed that she had been unable to kill Green Slime with a single attack of her paw. The wolf Luna jumped in the air and attacked again using the impulse of her jump, paw. With a loud sound of thud, Luna managed to hit Green Slime's head, making the body of the green slime that jumped fall heavily on the dirt floor. Silver Wolf mascot defeated the monster plant, Green Slime, rank F, level 4, 2 blows. It's not bad, Nero murmured and then said, don't just stand there, attack the pink slime too. Luna heard Nero's command and went towards a pink slime. Choco, who also defeated one of the green slimes, went to attack a level 3 pink slime. Jana had already defeated 2 pink slimes in the meantime, there were only 2 left, the one that Luna was about to attack and the one Choco went to attack. Nero walked towards the green slime that she defeated and used plunder. Then she did the same with the one Luna defeated. Of course, she slowed down the speed of plunder on purpose. 1. Level F Monster Core Level 4 has been added to your inventory. 1. Thin Stem Low Quality has been added to your inventory. 47 Essence Coin has been added to your inventory. 1. Level F Monster Core Level 4 has been added to your inventory. 1. Acid Goo Low Quality has been added to your inventory. 42 Essence Coin has been added to your inventory. Nero saw a new holographic system page open up. Silver Wolf mascot defeated the monster plant, Pink Slime, rank F, level 3. Nero also approached this slime as well and started using plunder. 1. Level F Monster Core Level 3 has been added to your inventory. 1. Sticky Mucus Low Quality has been added to your inventory. 33 Essence Coin has been added to your inventory. I have 11 monster cores in all. When I get to town, I need to find a quiet place to absorb it, Nero thought as she walked along with Jana and the rest. You can already see the dirt road that leads towards Esfim. Choco pointed out toward the distance. Oh. Nero felt a little nervous, as it was the first time she was going to a place with many people since she arrived in this unknown world. You don't have to be nervous. Choco smiled, reassuring her. Esfim town is super calm. Although you have to pay a small fee to enter, how much exactly? Nero already wanted to take it out of the inventory so as not to let them discover that she does not have a hunter card. It's 50 essence coin. Jana was the one who answered, okay. Nero didn't know if it was expensive or not, but she had enough to pay, so she said nothing. She just quietly took 50 essence coin from her inventory and left it in her leather pants pocket. Stop, guys. The carriage. Suddenly, Jair's loud cry came. He woke up stunned, thinking he was in a carriage. What carriage? Breno grunted angrily, but also happy at the same time. Seeing that his good friend had woken up, where are we? And why are you carrying me, Breno? Jair was completely lost. He was furrowing his brow constantly, feeling some pain in his chest. We are going back to Esfim. You almost died, fool. If it weren't for Nero, you would dash. Jana started to sniffle and cry. She couldn't take it and ended up crying when she saw her brother finally wake up. Chapter 23, Nero? Jair looked in Nero's direction and saw her smile gently at him. Jair still remembered her helping them in the battle against the group of thieves. I don't know exactly what you did to help me, but thank you very much, it's all right. Nero smiled sadly as she pretended to be dejected when she said ambiguously, although it was my first time, can you put me down? Damn, it's not comfortable and very unpleasant to be like this, Jair complained, jokingly, ingrate. Is that how you thank me for carrying you all this way here? Breno dropped Jair's feet, making Jair fall to the road with the sound of thud. Damn, I was kidding. You don't have to leave me like this. Jair stood and shook off his pants. Dusting himself off. Wait, what did you say before? Your first time doing what? It was only now that Jair remembered Nero's ambiguous way of speaking earlier, and was in shock when he looked at her. What exactly happened while I was passed out? Jana, Choco, and Breno were silent, interested in what Nero was going to say to the poor and foolish Jair, who was all confused. My. Nero pretended not to be able to speak and covered her face with his hands. Jair, who saw this, was even more terrified. What exactly happened? Jair shouted in his mind, "Ha! I'm kidding you. It wasn't a big deal. It was just my first time doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation on someone, so my first time." Nero laughed and explained, "Ha!" Seeing Jair's completely stunned face, not knowing what to do and being completely red with embarrassment, Jana, Choco, and Breno started laughing out loud. "Damn, you guys are not brotherly at all." Jair murmured, "Well, still, I am forever grateful for what you did for me." Jair bowed to Nero. "Relax, your sister and the rest have already thanked me plenty, and you don't have to be constantly thanking me for it either. Just be more careful next time." Nero smiled, "I will." Jair felt more relaxed. He then looked at Breno and said, "You too, thanks for carrying me all the way here, it doesn't matter. Just be more sincere next time." Breno said, "You are a great friend, man." Jair wrapped his arm around Breno's neck as he spoke from the bottom of his heart. "Okay, now, let me go." Breno moved his shoulder, pushing Jair away. "Little sister, how long have I been passed out?" Jair asked Jana. "Almost 2 days and 1 night, Jana replied. "Jair, it's good to see that you're okay now," Choco said as if a large burden on his chest had been lifted. "Thank you for your concern." Jair smiled at her. On the way to Esfim, Nero started getting acquainted with Jair too. Although he seemed talkative the moment he woke up, soon Nero realized that in fact, Jair was even shyer than Breno, especially when talking to her. "Stop right there." When they arrived at the great gate of Esfim, they were stopped by the guard in front of the gate. The guard wore iron armor and an iron helmet with a white feather on the right side. The guard recognized Jana, Choco, Jair, and Breno, but did not know Nero. He looked at her and said, "New to Esfim town? If so, you need to make a business card. The cost is 50 essence coin. Okay, I'm going to pay." Nero took the coin out of her pocket and handed it to the guard. "Please follow me to get your business card." The guard said, and Nero followed him to a cabin the size of a small room. Inside the wooden cabin, the guard held a pen, and dipping it in some ink, said, "This card has a duration of 1 month and allows you to enter and leave the city 10 times. If you exceed that, you will need to pay a fee of 5 essence coin each time you enter Esfim town." "Okay, alright, what's your name and age?" the guard asked. "My name is Nero, and I'm 17 years old, Nero replied. "Okay, it's done." The guard gave the card to her. After that, Nero entered Esfim with Choco leading the way. Soon Nero noticed a beautiful European-style city. As they walked, Nero was surprised. Almost the whole city was built of brick. The pavement, besides being poorly laid out, was made entirely of cobbled stone bricks. She also noticed many people walking around the city. And she felt strange since she received many quizzical looks from all directions. As I imagined, Nero draws a lot of attention even after hiding her wings. Choco laughed nervously. For some unknown reason, she was not comfortable seeing people looking at Nero with lust. Even the women were mesmerized by Nero's appearance, as she was stunningly beautiful. "Did you see that? This young lady is so beautiful." "Yes, she is with Miss Choco, and they seem very close. I wonder where she came from. There is no way for such a beautiful girl to go unnoticed. Well, I believe she must have met Miss Choco and the rest and they ended up becoming friends," although some people started to speculate where Nero came from and also cast some adoring looks at Luna. They soon lost interest when they saw Choco, Nero, and the rest walk away. "Where are we going?" Nero asked, breaking the silence. Come to my place," Choco offered. "As I said before, you can sleep at my place until you get a better place." "Okay, I will accept being your guest." "Thank you." Nero smiled, grateful for Choco's kindness. Meanwhile, inside the Chin clan's estate, a young girl with long purple hair entered the Chin mansion and went straight to her mother's room. She knocked on the door. "Mom, it's me, Maya. Enter, my dear daughter," a voice from inside the room echoed. Opening the door, Maya entered the room. She had a hurt expression. Inside the room there was a lot of luxury furniture, clearly demonstrating her glamour. A beautiful chandelier hung in the center of the room while most of the furniture was gold-plated. There were even 2 lamps on the side of the bed made of gold. Drop some Power Stone, please. Chapter 24. Maya's mother was someone who was obsessed with gold. Because of this, almost everything in her room was made of gold. Come here. Give your mother a hug and kiss first, said the woman named Malvina. Yes, Mom. Maya approached and hugged her mother and kissed her cheek. Tell me, my child, Malvina asked gently, why do you have such a worried expression, mother? Maya let out a long breath. I can't hide anything from you, can I? Of course not. Malvina shook her head and smiled. After all, I am your mother, Mom. It looks like my plan has failed. My spy just reported that Choco has just arrived in town alive. Even her 3 friends managed to get back alive. And more, there was a wolf and a very beautiful white-haired girl walking along with Choco. Maya seemed jealous when speaking about Nero. When she heard her spy's report, she didn't like it at all when she heard how beautiful the girl next to Choco was. Did that bastard girl survive? An angry expression appeared on Malvina's pretty, makeup-filled face. Is this your home's entrance, Choco? Nero asked, shocked when they arrived in front of a large gate with a beautiful garden making up the grounds behind it. One could see that at the back of the property, there was a beautiful white mansion that was absolutely breathtaking. Yes. Choco nodded with a welcoming smile. Come, let's go in. And Nero agreed and entered along with Choco and the rest. Walking across the grounds, Nero examined the beautiful garden. Nero asked, your family's house is quite large, is it not? A strange glow passed through Choco's eyes, but it soon returned to normal. She shook her head as she explained, I don't stay in the main house. My mother and I stayed in a separate place since my mother is one of my father's concubines. Nero didn't talk about it anymore. She had talked to Choco before and knew a little about her story. Although it was like that, Nero did not think Choco was a sad girl who had an unhappy life. Although she suffered some setbacks, she was a happy and healthy girl. As long as she had her freedom, she could achieve everything her father had accomplished and even more. Nothing will fall from the sky if one stands around waiting and does nothing. As long as she tried, she could achieve anything, and Choco was very talented and hardworking. If she continued to live as a hunter, albeit a risky choice, it was only a matter of time for her to achieve everything she wanted. So Nero asked rhetorically, I see. But you are happy, right? Yes, a lot. I love my mother. Although I don't see my father much, I still like him. At least my mother and I have a better life than my father's other concubines, since my mother had me, Choco said sincerely. It was as Nero imagined. Choco was a brave girl and lived happily. I'm glad to hear that. Nero smiled at her. Even if you and your mother don't live in the main house, that is not the most important thing in someone's life. If you want money and luxury, I believe you can achieve it. Yes, you are right. Choco forced herself to not cry, and she gave Nero a tight hug, surprising her. You are a good friend, Nero. Although Nero was surprised by Choco's sudden embrace, she hugged Choco in response while patting her on the back. I'm fine now, thanks. Choco, who moved away from Nero's embrace, had a beautiful smile when looking at Nero. Jana had also been moved by Nero. She was more and more satisfied with her. Jair and Breno were the same. They found it difficult to find someone like Nero despite being so young and talented. Jana coughed slightly. Cough. Now that we have 5 people here, how about forming a group and going to explore a beginner's dungeon? Everyone looked in Jana's direction when they heard what she said and then looked at Nero. I would like to do that, Nero agreed. Jana and Choco had already explained to her about the dungeons, and Nero had already been interested in exploring and leveling up faster. In addition, 5 people were needed to be able to explore a dungeon. On the east side of the Chin clan's estate, Nero, Choco, and the others arrived in front of a house. It wasn't as big as the main mansion, but it was still big enough to house 15 people, entering the adjacent estate. Nero noticed some servants taking care of the house's garden, or doing other chores such as hanging clothes and sweeping the leaves. Young lady, you are back. The servants smiled warmly when they noticed Choco. Noticing the presence of more people, mainly from Nero whom they had never seen before, a housekeeper asked carefully, not wanting to be disrespectful, this beautiful young woman is? Choco quickly replied with a smile, she is my newest good friend, and her name is Nero. Hello, beautiful lady. I hope you will remain good friends with Choco, the housekeeper said with a smile, making Choco blush slightly. The maid continued to speak, Madam is in the room. Come in, madam will be happy to know that Miss Choco is back. When they noticed Luna, many of the maids became afraid. Nero, noticing this, thought it would be best to have Luna go into the domesticated monster slot. Calm down please, this is my domesticated wolf. When they saw that the wolf was gone, they were surprised, but not that much, since the taming class had such an ability. However, it was very rare, which made them think that Nero must be very talented and special. Nero assessed the head maid who wore a white maid dress which reached down to her shin, embroidered in gray. She found the housekeeper pleasant. Nero said to her, "Nice to meet you, the pleasure is all mine, young lady Nero." The housekeeper smiled. Jana, Jair, and Breno also greeted the housekeeper and the maids, then they followed the housekeeper into the house. When they arrived in the living room, Nero was able to see a beautiful, young-looking woman who appeared to be in her early 20s. But although she looked like that, this woman was actually 36 years old. Nero was surprised to see her. She had long black hair, pool blue eyes, long legs, and full breasts with fair skin. She was so white, it looked like she never got sun. The woman was wearing a simple white one-piece dress, but even though it was simple, she exuded a great deal of charm and elegance. The woman stood up elegantly, looking in their direction. When her eyes landed on Nero, she looked at her and smiled. Era? What a beautiful lady we have here, Choco said. Mom, this is my friend, Nero. Then she looked at Nero and she said, Nero, this is my mother, Latifa. Nice to meet you, Ms. Latifa. Nero smiled at her friendly. Latifa nodded in satisfaction and said, my goodness, you are very beautiful. Did you know that? Thank you. Nero felt shy about being praised like that, Mom. Choco was embarrassed to hear it as well, but in response, her mother just smiled. Auntie, good to see you again, Jana said with a smile. Good girl. Come here and hug your aunt. Latifa said, happy to see Jana. Chapter 25, Jana came over and hugged Latifa. Jair, what are you waiting for? Latifa pouted, come on and let your aunt hug you too. Jair shook his head helplessly and came over and hugged Latifa. Good to see that our aunt is fine, he said when he finished hugging her. Nero was surprised by this scene. Are they related? This wasn't something that Choco and the rest had told her, but soon she didn't think about it, since it wasn't so important. Breno nodded simply as he greeted Latifa. Although it was like that, Latifa did not seem to have been upset. She was already used to his behavior of not saying much. Breno was always very quiet in her presence for some reason. Mom? Can Nero stay here at home? Choco hugged her mother. She looked up, meeting her mother's eyes. She has nowhere to stay. I do want her to stay here. Please. Although surprised by her daughter's request, Latifa saw no problem in this. Of course, she can stay here. She looked at the housekeeper. Marcia, get Nero a room, right away. Marcia bowed, then she left. Thank you, Ms. Latifa. Nero smiled when she said, no need to thank me. Latifa smiled and said, besides, you can call me Aunt Latifa or just Latifa. Nero didn't think much, and she nodded. Okay, Aunt Latifa. Latifa smiled contentedly. Come, sit down, everyone, then the afternoon snack will be served. While they were talking, the afternoon snack was indeed served. Even though she was a little out of place, Nero managed to follow the conversation, and she ate with them, and sometimes she smiled about the conversation. She couldn't get too deep into her backstory, not wanting to reveal that she came from another world. Her situation was not simple, she had to be cautious. First, she would need to register with the Hunters Guild. Second, she had to learn more about this world. And third, she needed to increase her strength. By doing all this, she could live more peacefully. Aunt Latifa, we are going. Good night. Jana, Jair, and Breno said goodbye and left. Latifa returned to her bedroom, leaving only Nero and Choco in the room. Nero, you must be wanting to bathe. After all, before we only cleaned ourselves with damp cloths. Choco invited her. What do you think about bathing together? Are you sure about that? Nero didn't know whether to accept her invitation or not. Yes, of course. The bathroom is very big. You don't have to worry, Choco said with an innocent smile, okay? Seeing that she wasn't taking this issue seriously, Nero knew she had to adapt. And she was now a woman. It would be strange if she refused, since before she had cleaned herself in front of Choco and Jana. I think your clothing size is no different than mine. I will lend you some of my clothes for you to wear. Choco said this while walking with Nero to her bedroom. Once there, Choco handed her a set of white pajamas with pink flowers. Nero thought they were very feminine, but she didn't refuse. Then the two girls went to the bathroom. Nero admitted that her heart was beating very fast. She was about to go against her own words and back out. After all, although she was a woman now, previously she was a man. It was very strange to bathe with a girl. "How are you, Nero?" Hearing Choco's worried, totally innocent question made Nero feel more guilty. I'm just a little nervous." "I've never bathed with anyone else before," Nero told her, hee hee. "You don't have to feel nervous. It's not a big deal. I've done it a few times with Jane and my mom too." Choco laughed when she saw Nero's sheepishness. She thought she was cute being so worried about it. The bathroom was quite large, it was practically a hot pool. Choco, who saw Nero's surprised expression, smiled and said, "We can wash here first before getting into the bath." "Okay." Choco stood in the right corner of the room where there were arranged showers and buckets, as well as liquid soap and multiple products for washing hair. "Let me rub your back, and then later you can wash mine. What do you think of that?" Choco asked. "Sounds good," Nero nodded. They went to a set of closets in there, started to take off their clothes and put them in a laundry basket. When Choco saw Nero completely naked, she almost lost her breath. It was unbelievable how pretty she was naked. She had somewhat seen Nero naked in the tent before, but it had been dark and not as visible as it was now. "You are so beautiful, Nero, thanks." Nero avoided looking at Choco, but she still replied, "You are also very beautiful, hee hee." "I know you are only paying lip service since you don't even have the courage to look for a long time, but thanks," Choco said with a chuckle. Shall we wash first?" Nero, who was feeling embarrassed, decided to deviate from the subject. "Right." The two girls started to wash, starting with their bodies and then using a hair washing product which Choco showed Nero how to use. And then finally a hair moisturizer. All finished? Seeing that Nero was done, Choco said, "I wash your back first, then you wash mine, remember?" "Yes." Nero nodded and stood with her back to Choco as she sat down on a plastic stool. Choco took a sponge. After filling it with liquid soap, she approached Nero's back and began to scrub. Nero, who was caught off guard, let out a cute little squeak and then covered her mouth with her hand in shame. Choco laughed and continued to rub Nero's back. The smoothness of Nero's skin surprised Choco. She even dared to think that it was even softer and more pleasant to the touch than Jana's and her own skin. This somehow made her want to wash Nero's back for longer. She looked at Nero's little wings and asked, "Can I touch your wings to wash them?" "Yes, please." Nero nodded. Choco felt the softness of Nero's wings when washing. She rubbed them with the liquid soap sponge until she said, "I'm done. Just let me pour some water to remove the foam, okay?" Nero felt a little more relaxed. She didn't think it was as strange as when she first thought about it, although she regretted the scream she let out at the beginning when caught off guard. After splashing the water and seeing that Nero's pale, perfect back was clean, Choco said, "It's done. Now, please, can you do my back?" "Yes, of course." Nero nodded in response and turned. Choco had already turned her back to Nero. As for her purple hair, she made a bun to keep it out of the way, unlike Nero who just put it forward, dropping it on her breasts and letting it cascade down to her belly. Chapter 26. It was the first time that Nero was going to wash someone's back. She just tried to do what Choco did to her since she didn't seem to have any secrets, although Nero knew she shouldn't use too much force since she didn't want to hurt Choco's back. With the sponge full of liquid soap, Nero slowly started to rub Choco's back from top to bottom. Just as Nero thought, Choco's skin was very sensitive to the touch and quite pleasant. It was smooth and soft. After she was done using the sponge, Nero poured warm water to remove the foam. She then said to Choco, "There, it is clean, thanks." Choco turned and thanked her with a beautiful smile. Nero had to take 2 deep breaths to calm her nerves. Once she was feeling calmer, she said, "Shall we get in the bath?" "Yes, let's go in." Choco nodded. Before entering, Nero tested the water temperature with the tip of her foot. Seeing that it was pleasant, just the way she liked it, she entered. She ended up letting out a moan of pleasure as she felt comfortable entering the water. Choco laughed and said, "It's at the right temperature, isn't it?" "Yes," Nero agreed. She closed her eyes and decided to ignore the shame she felt before and just enjoy the bath. Almost 5 minutes later, Choco broke the silence. "Nero, I swear that your breasts didn't look that big earlier. Although they looked big before, now they look even bigger." Nero blushed as she said, that must be because that leather outfit I wear is a little tight, so you must have had that impression. Oh, so that was it. It is usually the other way around. Choco smiled. Nero did not know that one should look and say that hers were also bigger than they seemed or make any comments. In the end, she ended up choosing to remain silent. Look, mine got smaller, don't you agree? The innocent and natural way that Choco acted when holding her breasts and saying this made Nero even more confused and clumsy as she did not know what to say. Nero in the end said to her, "Well, I still think it's fine, they are very beautiful, cute, do you think so?" Now even Choco felt shy. Her face flushed, turning tomato red. "Yes, I do." Nero nodded and closed her eyes. This was overwhelming her mind. It was too much emotion for a single bath, thanks. Choco thanked Nero in a timid voice and then was silent. When Choco and Nero got out of the bath, Nero dressed in the white floral pajamas Choco had provided for her. Although it was a little tight on the chest and butt, it wasn't too much, since it was a whiter outfit that Choco wore just for sleeping. Choco was also wearing pajamas, mostly pink, with white flowers. It was the reverse of what Nero had on. "Come on, I'll take you to the room you're staying in." Choco led the way. Nero, as she followed her, watched the house as they walked. Although it was a big house, it had no objects that seemed to be extremely expensive. At most, some pictures looked good. They arrived at a room that had a single bed, a wardrobe, and a small private bathroom. Choco said, "You can stay in this room. Feel free, as if it were your home." She smiled. "Thanks," Nero said gratefully. I know you're having trouble sleeping. What do you think about me giving you a massage to help you relax? I'm sure it will help a lot. And I am very good at doing massages, you can ask my mother and Jana. I always massage my mother and I did it twice for Jana." Choco offered her assistance. She looked at Nero hopefully. Nero, who saw Choco's hopeful look, couldn't say no. She ended up giving in. "Okay, can you do this for me, please?" "Sure, it's my pleasure." Choco smiled. Nero approached the bed and asked, am I going to need to take my shirt off?" "You don't have to if you don't want to, but it's better without it," Choco said. "Okay, I'm going to take it off then." Nero didn't see why she was so ashamed now since she had just gone completely naked in front of Choco while the two of them were in the bath. When Nero removed her blouse and was only wearing a bra, Choco could see her little white wings with pink feathers on her. They were quite unique and beautiful. Choco found it interesting and pleasant when she had washed Nero's wings earlier. "Wait a minute, I left the massage cream inside my hunter card. I'll get it, and I'll be right back. In the meantime, you can just lie on the bed there. It won't take me a minute." Choco said as she left in a hurry. Nero, having no other options, did what Choco suggested. She laid on the bed with her belly down while waiting for Choco. Ha! Ha! Choco came back a little breathless. Just like she said, she didn't take a minute to go and come back, but she also ran so fast that her breathing was irregular. "You didn't have to hurry that much, you know," Nero said, surprised to see how breathless Choco was. "I know, but I didn't want to keep you waiting." Choco was very cute when she said that. Nero almost got up and gave her a hug when she saw her act cute like that. "Well, thanks. I think." Nero didn't know how to deal with this girl. Choco showed his tongue and approached. She said, "Although I got a little tired, I can also catch my breath quickly." She said proudly, "See, am I not amazing?" "Yes you are," Nero agreed with a laugh. Choco laughed too and said, "Okay, I'm going to start to N." Nero nodded. Choco put the cream on her hands and started rubbing it until it warmed up. Then she put her hands on Nero's back and started rubbing from top to bottom, standing beside her. Nero had to admit that this was all very pleasant and couldn't help but close her eyes while enjoying Choco's massage. After rubbing Nero's back for a while, Choco started squeezing the pressure points on Nero's back with her thumbs, making Nero moan softly. Choco said, "If I use too much force or you want me to use more force, just let me know." "You can use a little more force, please," Nero said in a hushed voice. "Okay." Choco nodded with a gentle smile and continued to squeeze Nero's pressure points a little harder. Nero felt even more comfortable when Choco did this. Afterward, Choco began to knead Nero's back, and using her thumbs in a rotating manner, she squeezed while turning and kneading the skin on Nero's back. Chapter 27. Now, Nero understood that Choco was not bragging before, she was actually very good at giving massages. Nero felt so comfortable that she almost fell asleep. You're getting sleepy. Do you want to stop? Choco asked softly. No, I'm fine. Continue if possible, Nero replied. Of course it's possible. Just tell me when you want me to stop, Choco said softly with a smile. Before Nero knew it, she had fallen asleep. Choco, upon seeing she was asleep, carefully dressed Nero and placed her under the duvet. While she slept, Nero dreamed of Nero once again. In the dream another year had passed. During that time, Nara had spent most of her time in the underground cave because she was agitated before and was not looking to be cooperative. She only left the cell when she had experiments done on her. Nara also managed to reflect during that last year, and she vowed to take revenge. But for that, she knew she needed strength. Alas, to accomplish this she needed to leave the cell and go back to the room they had her in before. There she would have more freedom and be able to think of a plan to get stronger and be like her older sister. Thinking of her older sister Elsa and her parents, Nara couldn't help but cry. After crying for more than 3 hours in a row, she managed to swallow her tears. She was still very young, it was inevitable that she would miss her family, while she was sitting on a bed in the corner of the cell. She thought, I remember that my sister Elsa was often sitting cross-legged with her eyes closed. Nara started to think about this. She figured her sister had a purpose for doing something like that. She idolized her older sister, so she figured she wouldn't have done it without a purpose. Nara tied her long black hair in a ponytail with a piece of sheet that she tore off, then she breathed long, steady sighs several times as she sat in a lotus position on the mattress. Even though she mimicked her sister's actions, she felt nothing strange or different happen. But she did not give up, she continued to persevere. Without Nara's knowledge, she had continued all afternoon. Number 0. Hearing someone calling her, Nara stopped meditating. Opening her eyes, a different glow shined beautifully in them. What is it, demon? She looked towards the man with horns on his head while asking. The man with horns on his head looked at Nara strangely, but said nothing in response. He just placed down a plate of food and a glass of water, and then left. Nara raised her eyebrows, since she didn't expect it was time for them to deliver her food. She had been locked in this place for 4 years. Even without a clock she knew instinctually what time they brought the food, but this time she didn't notice the time go by. Does this have to do with what I was doing just now? She wondered. After all, she wasn't sure if it was because of this, but she decided to test it out later. Nara came over and picked up the tray of soup and glass of water. Bringing it to the bed, she sat down, then she placed the tray on her lap and started to eat the soup that consisted of some vegetables and small pieces of meat. Even if the soup had no seasoning, at least it wasn't bad. Very quickly, Nara ate everything and drank the water. She always remembered her mother when she finished eating, since her mother always warned her to brush her teeth once she finished, but here, she didn't have the luxury of brushing her teeth. Nara was not without decent food, as the scientists wanted to preserve her life, especially since if dead, she would not be of much use to their running experiments in that damn place, but they didn't much care about whether or not Nara had good oral hygiene. Because of that, she scraped the dirt off her teeth with her nails and rubbed her teeth with her fingers. The experiments were done on average once a week. Most of the time it was just them taking a blood sample after making her drink some unknown drugs. Although she didn't have any extraordinary changes in her body, it was not as if nothing had happened. Her vision got better and her hearing became sharper. She was also slow to tire, along with acquiring a regenerative ability, but her captors didn't know that she had such an ability. She managed to hide it thanks to a suggestion by her good friend Yui, because when Yui learned that Nara had this ability, she told Nara to hurt herself and not allow herself to heal so quickly whenever she got hurt. Nara would undergo even more experiments if they found out she had something like what she had. Yui, although young, had lived on the streets alone, so she was more aware than Nara about how dangerous it would be the moment they found out about her new peculiarity. Nara sat cross-legged again after she finished eating. Although she felt nothing different other than that time passed faster, she still wanted to continue. It was unknown to her how much time had passed. Calmly, Nara blew out a long, heavy breath and opened her eyes. Feeling tired, she lay on the bed and then slept. That night was different from the others. This time, Nara had no nightmares. She even dreamed of the day she spent with her family. Unintentionally, her eyes became wet with tears during her sleep. Mom. Daddy. Eldest sister, she murmured, still sleeping. Number 0, wake up. The next morning, Nero woke up to one of the guards calling out to her, even though she had already told them to call her Nara. She didn't understand why they insisted on calling her number 0. The same old man with horns was in front of her. He held a tray and it had on it a blood-red pill and a glass of water. In truth, this man was surprised that Nara was still alive. Many other test guinea pigs had died after she had already come here, but this girl was the first to live for so long. Swallow this medicine. Seeing that she woke up, he spoke. Nara rubbed her eyes, and then she took the medicine and swallowed it. Then she drank the water. The man did not leave immediately. He stayed for 10 minutes. After this he asked her to open her mouth and show if there was anything inside. Seeing that she had truly swallowed, he left. Nara closed her eyes in pain. She felt a burn all over her body because of this medicine. Nara knew she wouldn't be able to go back to sleep. She stretched, then went back to sitting on the bed in the lotus position. -20 days later. Nara was sitting on the bed in the lotus position as usual. Whenever she did this, she felt at peace. She even forgot all her problems. It became a kind of comfort to her mind. But this time it was different from the other times. Nero woke up very scared the next morning. Sitting on the bed, taking the cover off her, Nero started to shake while sweating profusely. Fear gripped her, as Nero was terrified that she was still in that macabre place forgotten by God that she had witnessed in her dreams. Chapter 28. Nero's current expression was difficult to explain. Her expressions were constantly changing, sometimes anger, sometimes fear, sometimes wanting to cry. It turned out that she started to cry, not out of fear, nor out of anger, but because she suddenly again remembered the little girl Yui never coming back after being taken by the demon. Sobs echoed throughout the bedroom as tears streamed from her eyes, but she tried to act hard and swallow the crying. It wasn't necessarily her memories and it wasn't she who went through all those tortures, but while she was dreaming, it was as if it had happened to her herself. Managing to calm down, she felt a little happy to learn that there was no one beside her at that moment to witness the embarrassing moment of her crying. She didn't want anyone to see that weak side of her. Taking a few deep breaths between heavy sighs, Nero got up from the bed and luckily there was a bathroom connected with the room where she was currently. Washing her face stained with tears, she wiped it down with a washcloth that was already prepared for her. She then left the room still wearing the white pajamas with pink flowers. Nero let out a long sigh as she closed the bedroom door, still a little shaken by the nightmare she had experienced. Miss Nero, Madame Latifa, and young Miss are on the porch having tea, a maid said when she spotted Nero leaving the room. I'm going to take you to them. Follow me, please, right. Nero nodded and followed the maid. Upon arriving at the porch, Nero saw Choco and her mother drinking tea and eating a slice of delicious-looking strawberry cake. Rowan Nero's stomach made a cute noise that caused the mother and daughter pair to look in her direction and smiled. Madame Latifa waved to Nero and said with a smile, "Come, Nero, sit down and eat with us." "Thank you, Aunt Latifa." Nero nodded as naturally as possible, not wanting to look like a starving girl. She approached with slow steps. "Sit here beside me, Nero," Choco said with a smile as she pulled out the chair for Nero to sit on. Nero sat down on the chair which Choco told her to sit and said while looking at the mother and daughter pair, "Good morning, Aunt Latifa." "Good morning, Choco." Looking at their reaction, Nero could tell that they were looking at her strangely. She frowned, wondering if she had done something wrong. Little did she know that the mother and daughter pair were stunned by her beauty without makeup even though she had just woken up. Besides, she was wearing only pajamas, so how could she have been so charming and beautiful? What a pity that she is a woman. If she were a man, she would be an ideal match for my beloved daughter Choco. Latifa thought ruefully. Choco was still looking at Nero in pure admiration. Her eyes sparkled whenever looking at Nero. It was as if at last her sun came up. Making her day better? Yes, great day. Choco thought aloud, provoking her mother's soft and charming laugh. Unfortunately, Nero was not paying attention to Choco's currently stunned expression. She was more interested in the slice of strawberry cake in front of her. Although she was not a sweets fanatic, she still liked it a lot. Nero feigned a cough to calm down. She didn't want to look dowdy, so she took a fork next to her plate and cut off a piece of the cake slice and drew it towards her mouth. The sweet and smooth taste of the cake spread through her tongue and Nero almost let out a murmur of happiness. "Nero, MHM?" She looked at Choco. Seeing the strange expression that Choco was giving her, Nero started to wonder if she had done anything strange. "I called you a few times. Did you like the cake so much?" Choco blushed. Do Do you want my part too, Choco? Are you an angel? Nero asked, seeing Choco in a new light. Nero's eyes gleamed, radiating light even more blinding than the sun. Choco and her mother Latifa were amazed by Nero's bright and beautiful eyes which gleamed like rare jewels. Did she like the cake that much? The pair of mother and daughter looked dumbfoundedly at each other. Latifa smiled and said, "This ant is also full. You can eat my share too." Nero looked at the two without understanding why they were being so generous, but Nero was not a glutton and quickly refused. "Aunt Latifa, if I eat too much I will end up feeling sick. I am almost satisfied, at most I will be able to eat a little more, okay, but if you want more just let me know, alright?" Latifa said with a kind smile. "Yes." Nero nodded. After they finished eating, Latifa took a sip of her tea and asked Choco, "Daughter, do you intend to continue this life as a hunter?" Latifa's concerned voice reached both Choco and Nero's ears. It was evident from Choco's mother's expression that she was not satisfied with her daughter's lifestyle. Nero looked on in silence. She could understand Latifa's concern. The life of a hunter was one of risk. "Mother," Choco looked at her mother's concerned expression and let out a long breath. She breathed in a little air, then closed her eyes for a few seconds and opened them again. Choco's eyes shone with determination as she replied, "I know you are worried about me, but you needn't worry. I don't intend to do anything too risky and put my life in danger. I don't want to leave my dear mother alone, you know." Hearing her daughter's reply, Latifa said nothing more. She knew that her daughter was stubborn, and when she decided something, it was difficult to go back. But she couldn't help but worry about her daughter going around hunting monsters, putting her life in danger. Soon one of the maids came to them and collected the dishes and poured a new glass of tea for the three women. "Thanks." Nero thanked her for pouring the glass of tea. After they finished drinking tea, Choco stood up and looked at her mother and said, "Mom, we're leaving now. I will be back later." "Alright, but be careful out there," Latifa said worriedly. "I will." Choco gave a reassuring smile. Nero also finished drinking her tea. Although she was not used to drinking tea, she liked the taste of this tea. Choco turned to Nero and said, "Are we going?" "Yes." Nero agreed. But before leaving, she looked at Latifa and said, "Thank you, Aunt Latifa. Everything was very nice. You can come back whenever you want, my child," Latifa said while smiling, after the two finished changing clothes. They left. Nero went back to wearing her leather outfit, while Choco was wearing black pants and a tight brown blouse, as well as a black short-sleeved jacket. Although the outfit was simple, it was still very beautiful. After walking with Choco through the streets of Esfin, Nero and Choco arrived in front of the Hunter Association Hall. It was even more majestic than Choco's clan's mansion. Nero looked in awe at the Hunter Association's appearance, but soon Choco pulled her into the Hunters Association. Chapter 29. Entering the hall, the place was not as she imagined. She imagined it would be more like the anime she saw in her past life, where she would see many people drinking with a mean expression, but to her surprise, it was all very well organized and people were very respectful. "You two are finally here. Good morning." Jana smiled when she saw Nero and Choco. "Good morning, Jana, Jair, and Breno." Choco greeted them. "Good morning," said Nero. "Good morning," Jair and Breno said in unison. "We are going to the queue to register so we can go to the dungeon," Choco said. Nero found a sign showing the counter for the registration and exchange queue, and seeing that the queue was empty, she said, "Go, I need to exchange some items and then I'll be with you right away." "Okay." They didn't think much on what Nero said and quickly agreed. Nero already knew some basic information, and knew that this was the register that exchanged items for money or goods. Luckily it was empty. She already learned from Choco that 200 essence coins were needed to create a hunter card, which is why Nero had already taken the coins out of her inventory. "Hello beautiful lady, how can I help you?" Arriving at the counter, Nero was met by a middle-aged man with black hair and dark blue clothing. "Good morning. I want to register to be a hunter," Nero replied. 200 essence coin are needed. "Please," replied the middle-aged man. Nero nodded, and she handed over 200 coins, essence coin. Receiving the money, the middle-aged man brought out a blue crystal ball. He said to Nero, "Put your hand on top of the crystal ball. Now close your eyes and manifest your mana." A flash of dark light emitted from the sphere, which caused those closest to the crystal ball to close their eyes for a few seconds. Then, on the card the man held in his hand, the words "Affinity" with black energy appeared. The middle-aged man was a little surprised but was quick to return to normal and act professionally. He smiled kindly at Nero when he asked, "What name will the young lady want to be registered on her hunter card?" Nero, she answered. The man nodded and told Nero to sit on a chair and took a picture of her using the card. After getting Nero to sign some papers and answer some questions, she took the card from him. Thank you, she thanked the attendant. It was easier than I imagined. Nero commented in her mind. She imagined it would be much more complicated and take much longer. Holding the card in her hand, Nero looked at the information on the hunter card. Photo, Nero, breed, hybrid, current class, enchantress, rank F, level 5, attributes, energy, mana 52.612, strength, hybrid 42.74. Nero was a little surprised. It seems that only my subclass has been analyzed. After finishing getting her card, Nero went to the line that Choco and the rest were in. When Nero arrived, Choco whispered to her when she noticed the perverted looks people were giving toward Nero. Nero, I understand that you said that these clothes of yours have a good defense, but at least are we going to buy an overcoat you can put on? Choco stared fiercely at these perverts, almost to the point of wanting to beat them up. Nero looked at Choco and seeing how worried she was about her, Nero agreed, yes, we can go buy some new clothes. After Nero walked away and stood beside Choco and the rest, a holographic screen opened in front of her. Mission, Hunter card, complete. Short bow, 2 agility and 10 strength, has been added to your inventory. 40 essence coin have been added to your inventory. This bow will be of great help. Nero thought, leaving the Hunters Association, walking through the streets of Esfin, Nero was still the center of attention. Some cast surprised looks of disbelief and suspicion that it was makeup, and there were also those who looked toward her with lust. We are here, motion Jair. The group stopped walking. On their left side there was a clothing store. Jana and Choco began dragging Nero into the store. She shook her head helplessly as she was dragged by the two girls. Jair and Breno had no interest in women's clothing, so they were looking at some men's clothing while waiting for the girls to finish shopping. Although the intention was just to buy an overcoat for Nero, the two girls were buying a lot of clothes that they found pleasant. That one looked great on you, Nero. Choco clapped when she saw her wearing a white overcoat with black buttons. Okay, I'll take this one, Nero decided and went to the cashier to pay. That will be 30 essence coins, said the cashier lady. Nero took the coins out of her pocket, but in truth, she took them out of the inventory and paid the woman at the checkout. After leaving the store, although Nero didn't notice as many perverts as she had when she was walking around earlier, she was still a beautiful woman. It was inevitable that she would have other people looking in her direction. Choco sighed and said to herself, at least they don't have those perverted looks anymore. Arriving in front of the dungeon, a new system screen appeared. New mission, conquer the first floor of the rank F dungeon. Isn't it time to show what you're capable of? Conquer the first floor of the rank F dungeon. Objective, conquer the first floor of the rank F dungeon. Reward, magic glove, rank F. Reward, 100 essence coin. Looking at this new mission that appeared filled Nero with happiness. The more things she won, the better it would be for her. Seeing that Nero had stopped, Choco asked her, concerned, what is the matter, Nero? Feeling bad? Oh. Nero left her stupor and replied, it's nothing. I ended up being distracted thinking about something, but it's not a big deal. Choco sighed with relief. That is good. Thank you for your concern, Nero smiled. Breno had already gone ahead by going to the cabin that was at the entrance to the dungeon. I have already registered our group. Now we just need to show our hunter card and we can enter, Breno explained. Jair and Breno were mostly excited. It was the first time that they would be entering a dungeon, and the desire to grow as a hunter made them excited. Chapter 30. Unlike when hunting monsters outside the dungeon, in the dungeon it was much easier to rise in power since the monsters in the dungeon were better in quality. Although, it was also true that it was more difficult to kill monsters in a dungeon. Okay, you can come in, the guard said, who was in charge of the entrance to the dungeon. Choco and the rest took out their weapons before entering the dungeon, and soon after they started to enter. Wow! They were all surprised. In the dungeon, what faced them was the sight of something similar to a cave, though many times larger. Even in some places on the ceiling there were white crystals that illuminated the dungeon. How precious are these crystals? Nero found herself thinking. Nero never stopped being cautious after entering the dungeon. She was constantly looking every which way on alert. Choco thought this scene was cute. Nero's serious expression left her almost mesmerized, but soon she forced herself to look away. The walls were made of stones. In some places on the walls the stones formed sharp points, so it was good to be careful. While the floor also appeared to have been made primarily of stone, there were places where the floor was made of sand. Looking from one side to the other, they did not have time to relax and enjoy the scenery as 3 scorpions measuring about 30 centimeters burrowed out of the ground made of sand and were coming towards them. Feeling the air temperature warm, Nero glanced at Jana and saw that she was conjuring a fireball. The fireball was launched incredibly fast. When it hit the body of the middle scorpion, the scorching flames began to burn the monster and splash the flames as if it were a water balloon that burst on the ground. The fire then spread and splashed on the other 2 scorpions. Terrified, the scorpions moved away from the middle scorpion. When the 2 scorpions dispersed, Jair and Breno were already waiting for this and attacked. With a loud cry, Breno used his spear and attacked in a straight line towards the scorpion's head. His jab was so fast that the scorpion, which was fleeing due to the fire, didn't have time to dodge and found his death when Breno pulled the spear from its head, green blood dripping from the hole the spear left behind. Jair jumped high, somersaulting, before crashing down and using his sword to pierce the back of the final scorpion and pulled the sword towards the head of the scorpion as it made strange sounds, cutting up through the entire head of the scorpion. Green blood began to run through the cut. There were only 3 scorpions, all of them level 3, so Choco and Nero didn't have to attack at all. Just one attack was needed to kill each of the scorpions. When they finished killing the 3 scorpions, they used their cards to loot the dead bodies of the scorpions. Jana approached Nero 2 minutes after finishing looting and said, "After I saw you throw stones, I had the brilliant idea of doing this with balls of flame." "What did you think?" "It was very good," Nero answered her, "since the speed has now increased. Yes, I was very happy when I managed to do that." She exclaimed happily, "Kaya." Suddenly, Choco shouted, "What happened, Choco?" Everyone looked in her direction, worried, but only to find Choco's face flushed. She murmured sheepishly, "A drop of water fell on my shoulder." Pfft. Upon hearing this, they tried their hardest not to laugh. All this happened while Choco had her head down, almost sinking into the middle of her breasts. Wanting to hide her embarrassment, when they were passing by the edges of the sand, they moved with extra caution, since there was a possibility that more scorpions would pop out of the sand. Curious, Nero asked suddenly, "I am in doubt. If I kill a monster and use the hunter card, I can plunder the monster, right? Also, would I be able to take the core from the card's storage in order to cultivate using the core's energy?" Choco, who was closest to her, replied, "Yes, as long as you get a monster core, you can use this means of raising your strength. It is also common knowledge when someone moves up to E rank, it increases the amount of energy they can get out of the monster cores." "Oh, does that mean that if I use it now, only a part of the core energy will come to me?" Nero asked again. "Yes, at the moment we can only get a maximum of 20% of the energy in the monster core. Someone who upgrades their hunter card to rank E, that person would be able to draw up to 30% of the energy from a monster core," Choco explained. Nero nodded in understanding when she heard her explanation. What would be the difference between the system and this hunter card I just received? Nero harbored this doubt in mind. Demonic acid slime was summoned, Platinum Wolf Luna was summoned, Nero summoned her 2 domesticated monsters. She wanted to make the most of her level up in this dungeon, and by having both tamed monsters helping, she knew it would be easier. "Nero, is this thing also your tamed monster?" Jana asked, surprised. "Yes," Nero said with a smile, "it is very ugly, right? Well, at least it is strong and has good immunity against poison." I can't help but agree that this little thing is very ugly, but if it is strong, that is what matters," Jana agreed with a smile. Her smile then twisted into a strange expression as she turned her attention toward Luna. "Luna, don't be afraid, come here with Jana." "Woof," Luna howled, showing her teeth, but seeing that Jana showed no fear and continued walking towards her, Luna ran and stayed behind Slime. What surprised Luna was that Jana stopped walking and stared at her with concern. "Ha ha! Are you afraid of my slime?" Nero asked with a chuckle. She also noticed that Choco made sure to keep her distance. "Well, this monster is very scary," Jana admitted. She sighed and gave up trying to hug and caress Luna. "Don't worry. After we leave, I'll let you play with Luna a little," Nero said slowly, not wanting to say anything wrong. "But for now let's focus on finishing the first floor of the dungeon, okay?" "Okay, you promised, so you better stick to it," Jana smiled. "Nero." Choco approached cautiously, trying her best not to get too close to the slime as well. "Come, let's continue." Nero smiled at her. "Den." Choco nodded with a cute expression.